Ethan had never expected Zerathia to look like this. The planet's surface stretched endlessly, a molten mixture of red-orange sands and jagged black rocks glowing faintly under the twin suns. The heat was unbearable, even for someone who had trained for extreme environments. His spacesuit's cooling system worked overtime, and beads of sweat formed inside the helmet despite its design. As a human engineer sent to repair the mining colony's energy cores, Ethan was used to danger. But this alien planet was something else entirely. He adjusted the settings on his portable scanner, eyes scanning the readouts, trying to locate the exact source of the energy fluctuations. The colony had reported strange anomalies, temperature spikes that didn't match any pattern, sudden light bursts and energy surges. He reached the edge of a collapsed structure, a shell of what had once been a power relay station. The metal groaned under the heat. Sparks shot from the exposed wires and a faint red-orange mist hung over the scene. Ethan crouched, inspecting the damage. He reached out to touch a cable, but froze. A shadow moved in the corner of his vision. He turned sharply. At first, he thought it was a mirage created by the heat. But then he saw her, an alien girl standing a few meters away. She looked human in shape, but her features were subtly different. Her skin shimmered faintly like liquid metal catching the sun. Her eyes were large and bright, shifting colors as she blinked. Small tendrils of light seemed to float around her like dust in a sunbeam. But these sparks weren't just decoration. They reacted to her emotions. Who are you?" Ethan asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The girl tilted her head, studying him with a curious expression. She didn't speak at first, but the air around her seemed to hum softly. The temperature rose noticeably. Ethan noticed it even through his suit. He swallowed. I'm Ethan. I'm an engineer from the mining colony," he said, trying to sound confident. "You don't belong here, do you?" The alien girl's eyes flickered. For a moment, they glowed a soft violet, then deepened to red. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He had never seen anything like it. He wasn't sure if this was a warning, a greeting, or something else entirely. He decided to lighten the mood, hoping a joke might break the tension. "Careful, you're too hot to handle," he said with a grin, wiping imaginary sweat from his brow. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then slowly the girl began to glow. A soft red light radiated from her skin, spreading across her body, warming the air around her. The sand at her feet shimmered as if catching fire. Ethan stumbled backward, startled. "Oh, wow," he said, raising his hands. "I didn't mean—" The girl's glow intensified, filling the small clearing with warmth. Ethan's suit sensors started flashing warnings, temperature rising beyond safe levels. He realized quickly that the girl's emotional state, her reaction to his joke, was causing a physical effect. Her anger or embarrassment or some emotion he couldn't yet name was literally making her body emit heat and light. Ethan took a careful step forward, holding his hands up in a gesture of peace. Okay, I get it, I won't joke again." Gradually, the red glow softened, fading into a faint pinkish hue. The girl's eyes returned to their shifting colors, now settling into a calm turquoise. She studied him quietly, tilting her head again. Ethan noticed small changes in her posture, tiny shifts that suggested curiosity rather than hostility. You're safe," he said, though he wasn't entirely sure if that was true. "I just want to help. I'm not here to hurt you." The alien girl stepped closer, the light around her dimming further. Ethan realized she was cautious but not aggressive. He lowered himself into a squat, trying to appear smaller and less threatening. "My name is Lyra," she finally said. Her voice was soft, melodic, and almost musical. Ethan realized it didn't come from her mouth in the usual way. The sound seemed to vibrate in the air itself, carrying a strange resonance that made his chest feel warm. "Lyra, okay, nice to meet you," Ethan said. He gestured toward the damaged structure. "I was inspecting the energy core when I found you. Did you cause this?" Lyra shook her head. Her hair, long and silvery, shimmered in the light. Sparks of color flickered through it as she moved. "No, the core—" "It is unstable," she said. Her eyes glowed briefly red again, then faded. "Danger. Here." Ethan nodded, impressed despite himself. "You can sense it?" Lyra's eyes flickered, now green. "Feel. Heat. Power. Unstable. Dangerous." Ethan took a careful step closer, pointing toward the exposed wires. "If we work together, maybe we can fix it before it causes a bigger problem." I've handled cores like this before, but I've never met anyone like you. Lyra tilted her head, considering him. She stepped toward the structure, her glow dim and calm now. Work together? She asked. Yes, Ethan said, smiling. We help each other survive, deal? She hesitated, then nodded slowly. Ethan breathed a small sigh of relief. He realized that trust would take time, but this was a start. As they began examining the energy core together, Ethan noticed how different Lyra's abilities were from anything he had read in the colony's data. She could feel the energy, almost like it was an extension of her own body. When she approached the overheating conduits, her hands glowed faintly. The cables pulsed with light, responding to her touch. Ethan realized this wasn't just biology. It was a form of interaction with the planet's energy, a symbiosis he could barely comprehend. This is incredible, Ethan said, eyes wide. You can control the energy? Lyra shook her head. Control? No, feel, respond, help, stabilize. They worked in silence for a while, the heat of the planet pressing down on them. Ethan started asking questions carefully, curious but respectful. Where are you from? How did you get here? Lyra paused. Her glow dimmed to almost nothing, and she seemed to think deeply. Far away. Not here. Long. Flee. Danger. Ethan's mind raced. A refugee? A lost traveler from another planet? It made sense why the colony had never reported anyone like her. And yet, despite the danger she represented and the danger surrounding them, the strange warmth he felt in her presence was comforting. After several tense minutes, Ethan stood up, brushing dust from his suit. All right. I think we can stabilize this core, but it will take effort. Are you ready? Lyra's eyes flickered a soft violet. She nodded once decisively. Ready? Ethan couldn't help but smile. Good, let's do this. Carefully, as they approached the heart of the energy core, Ethan found himself sneaking glances at Lyra, fascinated by the way she moved, the subtle shimmer of her skin, the way her glow changed with every slight emotion. She was alien, yes, but there was something undeniably human in her expressions, in the way curiosity and caution mingled in her eyes. He reminded himself, focus. The core could explode, and yet, he also felt something he hadn't expected, a connection forming between them, strange and unpredictable. Maybe it was foolish, maybe it was dangerous, but as the first sparks of heat danced along Lyra's hands, he knew their encounter would change everything. Outside, the twin suns of Zerathia beat down relentlessly, painting the landscape in red and gold. And in that harsh light, two figures worked side by side, human and alien, engineer and unknown traveler, bound together by necessity, curiosity, and something more subtle, the spark of trust in a place where danger lurked everywhere. By the time they had stabilized the initial surge, the sun had moved across the sky. Ethan removed his helmet, letting the dry, hot air hit his face. Lyra did the same, though her skin shimmered faintly in the sunlight. You did well, Ethan said, glancing at her. I didn't think anyone could do that, let alone someone who's not even from this planet. Lyra's eyes glimmered with a soft red light. She looked almost shy. Thank you. Ethan felt a strange thrill. He had joked earlier, and she had literally glowed red at him. But now, after danger and work, that glow felt less threatening and more personal. Looks like we make a pretty good team, Ethan said, grinning. Lyra tilted her head, a small flicker of amusement in her eyes. Team, yes. Together or survive. Ethan nodded. Somehow, in this alien world surrounded by heat, danger, and unknown energy, a bond had begun to form, and he knew deep down that this was only the beginning of something extraordinary. After the initial shock of the glowing incident, Ethan and Lyra began to settle into an uneasy rhythm. The energy core had been temporarily stabilized, but the colony was far from safe. Alarms continued to buzz in the distance, warning of sporadic surges and unstable conduits. Ethan knew that whatever had caused these fluctuations was more serious than a simple technical failure. Listen, Ethan said, kneeling beside one of the exposed panels. We can patch this for now, but the core will keep spiking unless we find the root cause. I need to know exactly what you can do, Lyra. Can you control the energy directly, or? Lyra's eyes shifted through shades of blue and violet as she considered the question. Feel, respond. Not control, but help. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Help? How? She stepped closer to the panel, her hands hovering just above the conduits. The tips of her fingers began to glow faintly, a soft orange this time, and the energy lines pulsed as if recognizing her presence. Heat radiated from her body, but it was not painful or destructive. Rather, it seemed to harmonize with the core's unstable energy. Ethan leaned back, watching with fascination. "You're balancing it. You're acting like a living stabilizer." Lyra nodded. "Yes, danger decreases when I focus, but strong emotions make it hard." Ethan's curiosity flared. Strong emotions? Her eyes briefly flashed red, the light spilling out around her. Ethan jumped back, instinctively shielding his face. "Right, I remember that," he said, holding up his hands. "Your glow? It's tied to how you feel?" Lyra gave a small nod. Her glow dimmed as she took a deep breath. Ethan noticed the subtle changes in her body language. Tiny tenses of the shoulders, a slight tightening of her hands, that mirrored what he assumed were her emotional responses. "This is incredible," Ethan said, sitting down on a nearby rock, running his hands through his hair. "I've read about alien physiology, but nothing like this. Your emotions literally affect your energy output." Lyra tilted her head. "Yes, strong feelings affect heat, light, energy. Hard to control sometimes," Ethan chuckled softly. "So my joke the other day probably wasn't the best idea, huh?" Lyra's eyes flickered a soft pink, then a tiny spark of red at the corner of her pupils. Ethan laughed nervously. "Yeah, I figured. Sorry about that." Lyra's expression softened, the red glow fading quickly. "No, danger. Not your fault." For the next few hours, Ethan and Lyra worked side by side, stabilizing smaller energy conduits. Ethan noticed that her glow shifted subtly based on her concentration and emotional state. When she focused, it became steady and warm, radiating a gentle light. When she became frustrated or anxious, it flickered, brightening and spreading across her body. Ethan realized he had to be careful. Any sudden actions, any careless words could trigger her glow in ways that might be dangerous for both of them. Yet, despite the caution required, he felt a growing fascination, not just with her abilities, but with Lyra herself. "You're amazing," he said quietly. "I've never seen anything like this." Lyra glanced at him, her eyes briefly turning a curious shade of green. "You're different from others," Ethan smiled. "Different how?" Her glow softened, almost shyly. "Others fear me, hurt me, run, you stay, help." Ethan's chest warmed. He hadn't thought about it like that, but it made sense. Humans were often cautious or even hostile toward the unknown, and Lyra was definitely unknown, even to the scientists at the colony. But here she was, standing beside him, trusting him enough to work with him. "All right," he said, straightening up. "We need a plan. The core is unstable, the colony's energy network is unpredictable, and we need to understand why these surges are happening." Lyra nodded, her glow now a calm turquoise. "Core reacts, planetary energy. Spikes come from outside," Ethan frowned. "Outside?" "Yes, from surface, heat, magnetic storms, planet, alive." Ethan took a deep breath, trying to process her words. "You mean the planet itself is affecting the core, not just mechanical failure?" Lyra's eyes shifted through colors, landing on a soft blue. "Yes, planet alive, core reacts to energy flow. I feel it." Ethan ran a hand over his face. He had studied alien worlds before, but he had never encountered anything like this, a planet that interacted with energy so directly that a human-built core could not withstand it, and an alien being whose emotions could influence the flow. "This is going to be tricky," he muttered. "But I think with your help we can manage it." Lyra stepped closer, her glow warming slightly. "Yes, and together." Over the next few days, Ethan and Lyra settled into a routine. Ethan would inspect damaged conduits and panels, while Lyra would channel her glow to stabilize energy flows. They learned to communicate with subtle cues, gestures, eye movements, and small changes in glow intensity. The more they worked together, the more Ethan began to understand her abilities. He noticed that when she laughed, her body radiated a soft pink light. When she concentrated, it turned steady orange. Anger or frustration brought the red glow, intense and dangerous if uncontrolled. One afternoon, as the twin suns of Zerathia hung low in the sky, Ethan decided to push the boundaries carefully. He cracked a small joke, teasing her about being too hot to handle again, but this time in a much gentler tone. Lyra's eyes immediately flickered red, and heat radiated around her. Ethan instinctively moved back, but instead of panicking, he held up his hands and smiled. I know. You're amazing. I can't help teasing sometimes. Lyra's glow softened after a few moments, shifting to a playful pink this time. She looked at him with what seemed like amusement. Ethan felt a laugh escape him. You're unbelievable. Lyra's eyes twinkled with a hint of curiosity. You strange human. Not afraid? Ethan shrugged. I've learned that being afraid doesn't help anyone. Besides, I'm more curious than afraid, and I trust you. The trust between them grew stronger with each day. Ethan taught Lyra how to monitor the core's output more effectively, while Lyra taught Ethan to feel the energy, using subtle vibrations in the air and changes in the glow to detect surges before the alarms even went off. But the colony wasn't safe yet. One evening, the alarms blared unexpectedly. Ethan and Lyra ran toward the core room, only to find the conduit sparking violently. The temperature rose sharply and the warning lights flashed red. Lyra's eyes immediately glowed red, her body radiating heat. Ethan knew this was serious. Lyra, focus! He shouted, trying to guide her. She took a deep breath, concentrating. Slowly, the red light shifted to orange, then a steady warm glow. Ethan joined her, working quickly to reroute power manually. Together, they managed to prevent a meltdown. As they leaned against the cooling pipes, catching their breath, Ethan looked at Lyra. You saved the colony. I couldn't have done this without you. Lyra's glow dimmed, turning soft pink as she looked at him. We help each other. Together. Ethan nodded, feeling a strange warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the planet's heat. For the first time, he realized that Lyra's glow was more than just a physical reaction. It was a window into her feelings, and somehow he felt connected. The days passed, and the bond between human and alien grew stronger. Ethan learned to be careful with his words and actions, aware that even a small joke could trigger intense reactions. Lyra learned to control her glow better, though moments of surprise or strong emotion still caused bursts of red. One night under the twin moons of Zarathia, Ethan and Lyra sat outside the core room watching the stars. Ethan removed his helmet, letting the warm air wash over him. Lyra did the same, her glow a calm turquoise. You know, Ethan said softly, I never expected to meet someone like you. I thought this mission would just be fixing machines and monitoring energy cores. I didn't think it would change me. Lyra's eyes flickered soft pink, almost shyly. You different. Not like others. Care, trust. Make me feel safe. Ethan smiled. I guess we make a good team. And maybe more than that. Lyra's glow brightened slightly, warm and comforting. Ethan realized that despite the danger, despite the unknown, this partnership, this connection was something extraordinary. And he knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. The alarms blared through the colony like a chorus of warning sirens. Ethan jolted upright, gripping his tools as he ran toward the core room. Lyra was already there, her body glowing a deep, fiery red. Sparks flew from the conduits, and the heat made the air shimmer in waves. The twin suns outside had long set, leaving Zarathia bathed in darkness, punctuated only by the flickering lights of the colony. Lyra! Ethan shouted over the alarms. What's happening? She didn't answer immediately. Her hands hovered above the exposed conduits, glowing brighter with every passing second. The heat intensified, and Ethan felt it even through his reinforced suit. Core unstable, she said finally, her voice vibrating in the room. Spikes too strong, must focus. Ethan's mind raced. He had dealt with dangerous cores before, but nothing like this. The readings on his scanner showed energy levels surging past maximum thresholds, and containment protocols were failing. The colony could explode within minutes if they didn't act fast. Okay, he said, taking a deep breath. We need a plan. You stabilize it with your glow. I'll reroute the conduits manually. We can do this, Lyra, together. Her eyes flickered from red to orange as she nodded. The glow from her body pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat, as if she were synchronizing with the energy core. Ethan moved quickly, tracing the tangled network of cables, checking for weak points. Sparks erupted nearby, sending him skidding back. Lyra's glow intensified again, spilling heat across the room. The air felt thick, almost like walking through a furnace. Ethan had to remind himself to breathe slowly. He watched as her hands hovered over a particularly unstable conduit, and the sparks died down under her influence. It was incredible. Her body was literally merging with the energy, stabilizing it where human hands could not. "You're amazing," Ethan said, even as he dodged a sudden flare of energy. I've never seen anything like this." Lyra's eyes flashed pink briefly, then returned to red. "No, not enough. Must do more." The intensity of the heat began to take its toll on Ethan's suit. Warning lights flashed, signaling the rising internal temperature. Sweat poured down his face inside the helmet, but he didn't stop. Every second counted. The colony's survival depended on their combined efforts. Suddenly, a surge erupted from the core, stronger than anything they had seen before. The conduit sparked violently, and a wave of energy knocked Ethan backward. His scanner went dead, and the room trembled. Lyra's glow became blinding, filling the entire core room with fiery light. "Lyra, hold it together," Ethan shouted, crawling toward her. She steadied herself, placing both hands over the main conduit. The red glow spread across her entire body, radiating immense heat. Ethan could feel it even through his suit. Sweat dripped into his eyes, but he forced himself to focus. He had to reroute the energy manually, even as Lyra's glow stabilized parts of the core. "Follow my instructions," he shouted. "Disconnect that panel, then link it to the auxiliary conduit, quick." Lyra's eyes flickered with understanding, and she moved with him, her glow lighting the way. Sparks flew dangerously close, and Ethan ducked just in time. They worked in perfect coordination, human skill and alien power blending seamlessly. Minutes felt like hours. Ethan could feel exhaustion creeping in, but he pushed it aside. Lyra's glow began to flicker again, red surging at the tips of her fingers. He realized she was struggling to maintain focus. "Lyra, breathe! You can do this!" She paused, taking a deep breath. The glow softened slightly, but the intensity of the heat remained. Ethan saw her chest rise and fall rapidly, and he knew she was exerting herself to the limit. He quickly adjusted the rerouting, connecting the auxiliary conduits in a delicate balance. For a moment, it seemed as if nothing would hold. Sparks erupted around them, and a low hum filled the room as the core threatened to explode. Ethan's hands shook, but he gritted his teeth, focusing on each connection, each bolt, each cable. Lyra's glow flared brighter than ever, a blinding red light that filled the room. Heat radiated outward, making Ethan's suit sensors scream warnings. But the moment felt almost beautiful in a strange way. Human and alien working together, pushing past fear, past limits. Finally, with one final surge of coordinated effort, the core stabilized. The alarm ceased, leaving only the soft hum of energy in the background. Lyra's glow faded gradually, settling into a calm orange, then a gentle turquoise. Ethan collapsed onto a nearby ledge, breathing heavily, his suit battered but still functioning. "You did it," he said, staring at her in awe. "We did it." Lyra lowered her hands, her chest rising and falling as she recovered. "Yes. Together, safe. Now," Ethan smiled weakly. "You saved the colony. I couldn't have done this without you." Her eyes flickered soft pink and a faint warmth spread through the room. "We help each other. Together." For a few moments, they simply sat there, catching their breath. The core was stable, the colony safe for now, but the intensity of what had just happened lingered. Ethan realized something profound. Lyra wasn't just powerful, she was extraordinary. Her abilities were unlike anything humans had ever encountered, and her trust in him was something he could not take lightly. After the adrenaline subsided, Ethan began inspecting the conduits again, making sure nothing had been damaged. Lyra followed, her glow dim and calm, providing gentle light in the dim room. "You were incredible," Ethan said quietly. "Even when the red flare hit, you stayed focused. I've never seen someone handle that kind of energy like you do." Lyra's eyes shifted to violet. "Must learn. Control better, help others," Ethan nodded. "We'll figure it out together. You're not alone in this." Over the next few hours, they worked to repair and reinforce the core fully. Ethan's human engineering skills complemented Lyra's unique abilities perfectly. He handled the delicate mechanical adjustments while she harmonized the energy flow, glowing softly to stabilize even the smallest surges. As they worked side by side, Ethan began to notice the subtler ways Lyra's glow reflected her emotions. A soft pink when she was calm, a gentle orange when focused, and red when danger or stress surged. It was like reading a window into her mind, and he found himself fascinated by it. You know, Ethan said during a brief pause, wiping sweat from his brow, I never thought I'd be working with someone like you, an alien, with abilities like this. It's amazing. Lyra's eyes flickered green briefly, then turquoise. You not afraid? Curious, trust, strange. Ethan laughed softly. I've learned that being afraid doesn't help. Besides, curiosity keeps me alive. And right now I'm glad I'm curious. Lyra's glow shifted to a soft pink almost shyly. Ethan realized that despite all the danger, despite the extreme heat and instability, there was a connection forming between them. Something more than survival, an understanding, a trust, and perhaps even friendship. As the core hummed steadily, Ethan allowed himself a moment to glance at her. Lyra was exhausted, her glow dim, but she looked serene. We make a good team, he said softly. Her eyes met his, shimmering turquoise. Yes, together, Ethan smiled. And I think we can handle whatever comes next, planet, core, or anything else. Lyra tilted her head slightly and her glow softened to a warm orange. Together, always. The twin moons of Zerathia hung high in the sky, casting a pale light across the colony. For the first time since he arrived, Ethan felt a sense of hope. Danger was far from over, but with Lyra by his side, he knew they could face it. As they prepared to leave the core room, Ethan caught himself glancing at her again. Her glow, even when calm, was mesmerizing, a reminder of her power and the extraordinary bond forming between human and alien. He realized that whatever challenges lay ahead, he wouldn't face them alone. And somehow, in the heat and chaos of Zerathia, he knew this was only the beginning of something far greater. The night after the crisis, Zerathia's twin moons cast a soft silver light across the colony. The air was still warm from the energy core's stabilization, and for the first time in days, Ethan could breathe without alarms blaring or sparks flying. He sat outside the core room, leaning against a cool metal panel, and watched Lyra move slowly among the structures. Her glow was calm, a soft turquoise that painted gentle light over the surrounding rocks. You know, Ethan said, breaking the silence, I never thought surviving here would feel normal. Lyra glanced at him, her eyes flickering faint violet. Normal. Strange word. Safe? Yes now, Ethan smiled. Safe, that's good. I like the sound of that. Lyra's glow shifted slightly, almost as if she were amused. You human. Talk too much, Ethan laughed softly. Maybe. Or maybe I just like talking when I'm not panicking. She tilted her head, studying him. You, not afraid, not used to that, he shrugged. I've learned fear doesn't fix anything. And besides, I trust you, Lyra. Her glow flickered soft pink, warmer and gentler than before. Ethan felt the warmth radiate toward him, not just physically but emotionally. There was something about her presence that made the heat of Zerathia feel almost comforting, even after the chaos of the core crisis. Over the next several days, Ethan and Lyra worked together to strengthen the colony's energy systems. Ethan handled the technical repairs while Lyra harmonized the unstable energy flows. Their teamwork became seamless, almost instinctive. Ethan could predict her movements, her glow shifting subtly to indicate her focus or stress. Lyra, in turn, seemed to respond to his presence, her glow stabilizing whenever he approached. You're incredible, Ethan said one afternoon, wiping sweat from his brow after rerouting a particularly unstable conduit. I've seen many engineers, but nothing like what you do. You're amazing. Lyra's eyes flickered soft violet, then turquoise. I just help, must protect, must survive, Ethan nodded. I understand. And you're not just helping the colony, you're helping me too. I wouldn't have made it through the last surge without you. Lyra looked at him, a hint of pink glowing on her skin. We help each other, together. Their bond grew stronger with every challenge. Ethan began to notice more subtle things about Lyra, how her glow reflected her emotions not just in danger, but in small moments of curiosity, joy, or surprise. When she laughed, her glow turned soft pink, radiating warmth. When she focused, it became a steady orange, soothing yet strong. And when anger or fear surged, the red returned, intense and dangerous if uncontrolled. One evening, as the twin suns rose behind the horizon, Ethan decided to test the limits of their partnership, carefully. He walked beside her as she inspected a section of the energy grid. You know, he said lightly, I still think you're too hot to handle. Lyra froze for a brief moment. Her eyes flickered red and heat radiated outward, warming the air. Ethan held up his hands in mock surrender. I'm just joking. You're amazing, really. I just can't help teasing sometimes. Lyra's glow softened, shifting to a playful pink this time. She tilted her head, her eyes reflecting amusement. You strange human, not afraid? Ethan shrugged. Curiosity beats fear every time, besides. I trust you. Her glow dimmed to a gentle turquoise, almost shyly. Ethan realized that her light was not just a reaction. It was a form of communication. She could express feelings in ways words could never capture. As days passed, Ethan and Lyra explored the colony together, not just for repairs but to understand the planet and its energy systems. Lyra's abilities allowed them to detect weak points and predict energy surges before they became dangerous. Ethan admired her focus, her resilience, and the strange harmony she could create with Zarathia itself. You know, Ethan said one afternoon as they worked side by side, I never imagined I'd be friends with an alien. I mean, someone literally glowing red when annoyed. Lyra glanced at him, eyes flickering soft violet. Red anger. Not nice, but you, patient, curious, learn, Ethan smiled. Patience isn't always easy, but with you, it's worth it. You're special, Lyra. Her glow shifted slightly, warm and comforting. For a moment, she remained silent, and Ethan could see her thinking, processing the words, the feeling behind them. One day, as they repaired a particularly delicate section of the energy grid, a sudden surge caused sparks to fly. Lyra's eyes turned red instantly and heat radiated around her. Ethan reacted immediately, shielding himself and guiding her hands. Breathe, Lyra. Focus, he shouted. She closed her eyes, taking a deep, steadying breath. The red glow softened to orange, then a calm turquoise. Ethan adjusted the conduits, balancing the energy flow. Together, they stabilized the surge, saving the section from collapse. Ethan looked at her, amazed. You're incredible. I've never seen anything handle energy like you do. Lyra's eyes flickered pink. Must learn. Control it better. Help. Others, Ethan nodded. We'll keep learning together. You're not alone in this. Not anymore. The bond between them grew beyond necessity. Ethan found himself watching her, noticing the small details, the way her hair shimmered in sunlight, the subtle changes in her glow, the way her eyes reflected the world around her. Lyra, in turn, seemed to recognize him not just as a partner, but as someone she could trust completely. One evening, after a long day of repairs, they sat outside the core room, watching the twin moons rise. Ethan removed his helmet, letting the cool night air wash over him. Lyra did the same, her glow a gentle turquoise. You know, Ethan said softly, I never thought I'd meet someone like you. I thought this mission would just be fixing machines and monitoring energy cores. I didn't think it would change me. Lyra's eyes flickered soft pink, almost shyly. You different, not like others. Care, trust, make me feel safe, Ethan smiled. I guess we make a good team. And maybe more than that. Lyra's glow brightened slightly, warm and comforting. Ethan realized that despite all the danger, despite the extreme heat and instability, this connection, this understanding was something extraordinary. The following days passed in a rhythm of work and exploration. Ethan and Lyra tested the limits of the colony's energy systems, always learning, always adjusting. Lyra's glow became a familiar guide, signaling when energy flows were stable, when surges were coming, or when danger approached. Ethan learned to anticipate the changes, responding instinctively to her signals. One afternoon, as they monitored a section of the colony near a magnetic storm, Ethan decided to speak openly. Lyra, do you ever get lonely? Her eyes flickered violet. Alone? Yes, flee. From danger. No one trust you. Here. Now it's different. Ethan nodded, understanding. I know what that's like. But I'm glad you're here. And I'm not going anywhere. Her glow shifted to soft pink, radiating warmth. Together. Always. That night, as the twin moons reflected off the distant mountains, Ethan realized something profound. Lyra's glow was not just a sign of her emotions, it was a bridge between them. Through her light, he could see her feelings, her thoughts, her trust. And through his words and actions, she could understand his intentions, his care, and his respect. The heat of Zarathia, once unbearable, now felt less oppressive. With Lyra by his side, Ethan knew they could face any challenge, planetary energy surges, colony instability, or unknown dangers waiting in the shadows. In that quiet moment, Ethan felt hope, excitement, and connection. Lyra's glow illuminated the dark night, soft and gentle, a reminder that even on a harsh alien world, trust and understanding could flourish. And as they sat together, side by side, he knew that this was only the beginning of their journey. Together, they could overcome anything. And somewhere deep in the glow of her body, Ethan saw not just power but friendship, trust, and something far more extraordinary.